Welcome back to 630. I'm joined now by Alyssa Bohenick, who got the chance to visit a subdivision that revolutionized the suburbs. So what makes this more than just a simple neighborhood?
Well, Saybrook was building at a time that Naperville really started to grow. There were businesses that were moving into town, which in turn brought many neighbors from all over the country. So I got a chance to hear their stories and see how they've seen Naperville grow.
Very cool. So who did you talk to?
I spoke with an author who recently moved into Saybrook and wrote a book called Building Saybrook, and also several residents who shared their stories of generations throughout the time.
Wow, let's meet the neighbors.
As you drive by the north side of Naperville, you'll come across a neighborhood that looks like this. House after house of colonial-style designs, constructed in Naperville in the 1960s. But what's made this neighborhood of houses a place to call home happened over several decades and was reason to find out more for newcomer to the neighborhood, Todd Anderlich.
Being a historian myself and somebody who has written several history books, I thought, I should do some research into this neighborhood and see if I can put together some of the pieces to help put together a chronological story of the founding of this neighborhood. And so over the course of the summer of 2015, I started putting together the pieces that ultimately told the story of this neighborhood.
The outcome, an 80-page book titled Building Saybrook that helped tell the story of how this unprecedented neighborhood began.
Saybrook was built during the 1960s. So the first home models were opened in 1961, and the last homes were built in 1968. So essentially this home was built throughout the decade of the 1960s, which was a great decade. I mean, we had the space race, we had a number of kind of monumental things that really impacted America, and in a way kind of helped give this neighborhood the character that it has today.
The residents that filled the neighborhood throughout those formative years, and residents today, came together recently to celebrate the book release and reconnect with those that have become more like family.
When you've lived around people for 40 years, you almost have some sort of bond with them. And so we just are so thankful that when we moved to town that we found this subdivision.
It was a very family-oriented neighborhood, and of course we tended to all be kind of in the same age range. I think almost everybody there had children in school, and I thought it was a very nice neighborhood, probably the nicest place that I've lived as far as the neighborhood spirit.
But this neighborhood and its deep-rooted connections didn't happen overnight. Up until the 60s, most homes in Naperville were secluded and spread over farms and acres of land, which is what Ann Potterton saw when she and her husband moved into the town of about 15,000 people.
We flew out here, and when you drove from the airport out here, the only thing that was there was Oak Brook, the mall at Oak Brook, and then nothing all the way out. And then he drove me through downtown Naperville, and I told him he had brought me to Hicksville, USA.
But as she continued to live in Saybrook, she's watched it, and in turn the city of Naperville, develop through the years, thanks to the changes happening right in their own backyard. Major corporations like Bell Labs and Northern Illinois Gas came to town in the 1960s, bringing people like the Pottertons to Naperville. And with I-88 and the train station nearby, the location of Saybrook was ideal. And what it offered to newcomers was hard to pass up.
This was brand new construction, brand new livable floor plans, and these subdivisions then began to have pools and tennis clubs, and schools were nearby. So it really was getting more convenience.
BB School was great for our kids. They could walk to school. Our grandson came to live with us for a while, and it was really a great experience for us. We just loved the camaraderie with the rest of the families and the children.
The Saybrook Bath and Racquet Club was one of Saybrook's unique amenities that helped to foster that feeling and keep residents connected through the summers.
We had all sorts of friends. The pool has always been a great meeting place, and so we all hung out at the pool, and a lot of those people still have kind of links to Saybrook. Either their parents are still here or they came back. There's a lot of a lot of familiar names and faces still.
The Saybrook Garden Club was another feature of the neighborhood that continued those relationships. The group began meeting in 1965 as a simple way to help newcomers prep their plot and welcome them to the neighborhood.
We had a very large lot. Our lot was 100 by 200, and I love gardening. I was very active in the Saybrook Garden Club, so that was a wonderful thing for me.
They had a coffee for you when you moved in, which gave you an opportunity to meet all the people. And in addition, they had a welcome wagon in town, so it was very friendly.
Today, the Garden Club has evolved to be less about curb appeal and more about lending a helping hand.
If you look around, like it seems like everybody, has a lot and doesn't need anything, but it's really not true. I mean, there's so many kids in these schools that actually need. We do like backpacks at the beginning of school. We'll do, like I said, at Christmas. We always had a big Christmas drive. So, and people are very generous. We raised over $8,000 last year just in our one fundraising event in November.
Proof that those who settle in Saybrook are more than just neighbors.
People have made lifelong friendships here. Even when people move away, they seem to keep the friendships. I mean, you can fly to Florida and visit your friends, and they pick up like it was yesterday, like they were here.
Though nearly 5 decades have passed since its inception, this neighborhood remains a place for residents to buy into a history all of their own. I'm Melissa Bohennick for 630.